All right, Jet fans, we finally get the monkey off our back, and you have the Jets beating the Patriots. We'll go into some comments about the game. I do want to pull up Robert Saleh's post-game real quick because I do have that live. It just went live to that. So we'll listen to that, and then we'll get into my comments.
To close this season out the way you did in these elements?
It was really good. Proud of the guys. Our locker room, we've got a great locker room. And, we've faced a lot of adversity, and to finish the season strong, start 2024 with a win, it's always special.
I know you tried to downplay this, like the losing streak and all that stuff, but is it kind of nice that we're not going to be able to ask you about it anymore?
Yeah, no, it's credit to them. You got to do something pretty special to be able to have a winning streak like that. It was, and again, it was. Like I said, starting 2024 was the most important thing for us. Starting it strong, starting with a win, and it was a really good effort from the team today.
Just talk about Breece and just him being the bell cow for your offense today.
He turned the corner about at some point in the second half of the season where his play style right around the Atlanta game just completely shifted into. Where it looked like, one, he was completely healthy, and two, just the mindset to run and finish and not trying to get the big one, but to take what the defense was giving. And it's not a coincidence that it followed with great production. And, if he continues that mindset and he keeps that going into next year, he's going to be a problem.
Robert, not long ago, you guys were in the early portion of building this program, and
So I do want to make a note real quick. He brings up, right around the Atlanta game. You mean right around when you were saying that you'd probably need to run harder or something along those lines? Patting yourself on the back a little bit much there, Robert.
You played here, and they ran it up on you guys a little bit. They made a quarterback change, still taking shots all the way down the field. Does it mean anything to you that while this game was close for a while, Bill's last game with the Patriots is going to be a loss to you and the Jets?
No, like I said, I think it's more important to just focus on us in this regard and how far we've come, and obviously not where any of us want to be or any of us expected to be at this point this year. But we all know what we have, and it may seem like we're really far away from the outside world, but we all know what we have, and we all know how close we are. And like I said, today's game was about starting 2024 on the right foot, getting a win. And hopefully the first of many in 2024.
How aware were you that Breece was close to 1,000 at the end, and it sure seemed like you gave him a shot there at the end?
Yeah, we were aware. One of our mathematicians was wrong. We thought he got it, but we're 10 yards off. But we were trying to get it for him on that last run. Otherwise, we would have taken a knee.
On a personal level, was it finally neat for you to get the better of a Bill Belichick team?
It feels good, just in regard of, we've played him throughout my career. I mean, he's been around for a very long time. So as a quality control linebackers coach and a D coordinator, so I'll give him credit. If you ain't got no haters, you ain't popping, and he's been popping for a very, very long time. So it's whenever you can get a win on him, it's always special.
Robert, could you just kind of sum up your feelings on the season overall now that it's over?
Frustrating, obviously disappointing in that we're going to fall short. But I'm also proud of the guys. We started 4-3. We hit a lull, and last year that lull just kept going into the offseason, and we never got a win. We were able to kind of claw our way out and finish with winning 3 of our last 5, and so it's like I said, it's not the way any of us wanted it to go. I do appreciate how much everyone fought and grinded through all the adversity that we faced. And like I said, just starting this season on the right foot, 2024 on the right foot, and
or a bad thing.
The
biggest takeaways and much more. We'll talk about it.
Like I said, we know what we're capable of, and we're a lot closer, I feel like, than people think.
What gives you optimism outside of number 8 coming back next year? Next year could be different.
Just the way we finished, and like I said, we won 3 of our last 5. Exercised a lot of demons this year. We beat 3 playoff teams. We made life hard for a lot of really, really good quarterbacks in this league who are going to the playoffs. We ended this losing streak. It's beat Philly for the first time in franchise history. We did a lot of really cool things this year, but at the same time, there's we got a lot of young guys better over the course of the second half of the season on offense. When you look at Brownlee and Xavier Gibson, even our young guys with Breece and Garrett and Tippmann and Carter Warren, a lot of young guys got a lot of reps. Ruckert. So there's a lot of really cool things on the offensive side of the ball, and something to look forward to as we continue to build it.
A couple more. What was the thought on Lazard being a healthy scratch again?
You know, with the weather being what it was, just having an extra punt returner in the event, the young rookie struggled back there, but thought he did a good job today.
Is that his season? I know probably have some more time to talk about this again tomorrow, but Allen's season, has that been kind of a big disappointment for you guys?
You know, I think he's disappointed, and you know, if you talk to him, I'm sure he's got a lot of disappointment too. You know, and I'll say this about Allen: he shows up to work every day. He does come to work. He's putting together his best foot, but he's putting his best foot forward. But at the same time, he knows that there's things that he's got to fix and that we've got to help him fix as coaches. And I'll sit here and put a guarantee on it that he'll have a hell of a lot better of a 2024 than he has 23. But he's made of the right stuff. He's built the right way, and he's going to attack it, and he's going to find a way to get better.
Well, good. Trevor's next. He's right in the back.
You're not going to ask me if I'm going to do cartwheels?
Let's reenact it.
All right, so that was a good way to end that press conference by Robert Saleh. For those of you guys that are unaware, Rich Cimini asked him why he wasn't throwing a podium after one of the losses. A little frustrating, and then obviously a little light joke there at the end. Why isn't he doing cartwheels after a win? I like that. I enjoyed that. Oh, Master at Work in the chat. Love having you here. He says, thanks for the L, Jets fans. Top 3 picks sealed. Master at Work, the resident Patriot fan of the AFC East Roundtable. And yeah, he's pretty happy. He's getting himself a franchise quarterback. We'll discuss that along with a whole bunch of other stuff tonight, right now. Jets post game underway. All right, so thoughts and reactions. This was eerily similar to the Curtis Martin game against the Steelers years ago. 10 years ago? 15 years ago? How long ago was that? 15 years ago? Curtis retired in 2006? Wow. 178? Is that what it was? I think it was 178 rushing yards for Breece Hall, 1 touchdown, has another 12 yards on the ground. Dude had a $190 in the snow. Very cool. Eclipses the 1,500-yard mark. 9 touchdowns. Why this guy isn't being talked about as the comeback player of the year, and instead we're listening to Damar Hamlin, who's got a roster spot because the NFL doesn't want to look bad because he died on the field last year, or Joe Flacco, who's had a great 5-game stretch, 4-game stretch, or whatever it was. Breece Hall 100% deserves to be comeback player of the year. Heck, Brock Purdy and Tua Tagovailoa, those two, all 3 of them deserve more credit for comeback player of the year than either Flacco or Damar. I won't lose my head too much about this. Let's talk about Jets Patriots. We finally get that monkey off our back. 1-15, feeling good about it. Trevor Siemian finishes the day. 8 completions in 20 attempts, had 70 yards through the air. Nothing crazy. Obviously, the weather was a huge component to this. Breece Hall, 37 carries and 2 receptions. Dude, it took this long. His career high in carries was hit at 23. That's wild. And we got an additional 16 carries after that. At least they were trying to get their guys the ball. Now, the one thing you don't want to see is obviously the side of Garrett Wilson getting hurt, concussed on the sideline. That hit from, it wasn't Judon. Who was the hit on? Julius Peppers. Not Julius Peppers. What am I thinking of? What the hell's his name? Peppers. God, I'm dropping the ball here. Whatever. I don't think it was a dirty hit. I think it was a late hit. I don't think it was a dirty hit. But that's the risk you run. Last game of the season, injuries, things like that. Guys, I'm going to get into your phone calls momentarily. I want to hear from you. What do you think of the win? What do you think of the Jets season overall? What do you think of maybe Belichick's last game? All that good stuff. Jabril Peppers, there's the name. Man, I couldn't figure that out for the life of me. Thank you for that. Garrett Wilson finishes the day, 2 receptions, 34 yards. He needed 7 receptions to get that 100 reception mark. Yeah, not good. Team statistic-wise, both teams combined 4 third down conversions in 29 attempts. Oof. Not a game if you were looking at points and yardage and all that good stuff. It's a rough day. Rough day. Point of time possession, pretty even. Jets had the 2 interceptions on the same drive. Wacky stuff. Ashton Davis deserves to come back. Dude should be a Jet in 2024. I hope we work on that. Bryce Huff, we heard before the game that there's some comments made that maybe he's not going to be returning to the New York Jets, which means the Jets got to try and extract any value they can out of that situation. Going to have a whole lot to get into. Oreo says, Jets undefeated in 2024. Jet up. Future is bright. Hey, I'm hanging my hat on that one. We're undefeated in 2024. I'm off 2023. Don't care about it. Thank God that season's over. That was one of the longest, most brutal seasons. I would say this season felt longer than any of the Gase seasons. And most of that is because we had it yanked out from under our feet early on in the season, losing Rodgers. Now, the Jets, as of recording this video, we are sitting at the 9 pick. We are waiting on the Chargers and the Giants to see how those games end up playing out. Or no, we're not. Sorry, it doesn't even matter with those. They're going to be in front of us regardless. Yes, regardless. We need to see how Minnesota... Nope, not Minnesota. Where is it? Chicago and Las Vegas play out. However they play out. The Jets are going to be picking either 9, 10, or 11. That's where we're at this point. Tankathon has us taking Brock Bowers, tight end out of Georgia. And they have the top 2 tackles in Olu Fashanu and Joe Alt going ahead of us. They have the Patriots taking Drake May. There's going to be some conversation, I'm sure, that's going to be had. Was this win worth it? Did the Jets just hand the Patriots their future franchise quarterback? Should we even care? Is this going to be our Drew Bledsoe moment? Our Mo Lewis, Drew Bledsoe moment? I hope not. If there's anything we have seen, it is very hard to develop a top 5 quarterback. We've tried it a bunch of times. It has not worked out for us. All right. Boys and girls, let's hop over to the phone lines. I want to hear your thoughts. All you got to do is scan the QR code in the bottom portion of the screen, and it'll take you to the link to call in. So if you guys want to do that, you're more than welcome to. We're going to go over to Lima Bean first. Lima Bean's going to be our first person on the docket. Give me a thumbs up, Lima Bean, if you are ready. All right, cool. Lima Bean, what's up, brother? How you doing today?
I'm okay. It wasn't a great, outstanding victory, but I'm happy to get the monkey off our back. I know everyone's freaking out, and I know I'm against the grain with the whole losing would have been better for us and helping the Pats and all that stuff. But the way I look at it is, if we only had 1 or 2 victories, then it would have made sense to tank because we already were so bad. We already had 6 wins, so it's kind of like we're in that no man zone. Second, the Patriots could easily find their quarterback, whether it be the third overall pick or the 5th. What if Jaden Daniels falls to them? Whoever. It just makes me upset that we would alter a whole game just for another team's pick. That's just the ultimate loser mentality that I just can't stand by. Do you think the amount of times New England chose to help us win so that we don't draft our quarterback? No, we kept drafting our first, second, third overall. Well, actually never first, but we just second, third overall picks, and they just all sucked. It's a crapshoot, A and B. We don't know who the coach is going to be next year for them and all that other stuff. Clearly, if this was Frank Gore running for that touchdown, I'd be pissed. But it was Breece Hall. When we won that game, I was like, man, Frank Gore, he just wanted to punch him. I just wanted him to drink the hottest cup of coffee and burn his tongue. But it's just this time it was different. At the very least, if this is Belichick's last game, you saw how pissed he was on the sidelines. He wasn't happy he lost. So that gave me a little bit of joy. Again, it wasn't pretty, but I was happy for Breece Hall getting that monster game. And honestly, a lot of the guys that we want to draft I look at our whole draft history. We tend to pick the wrong guy, and the team behind us picks the right guy. So it's really, that seems to be the case.
So you're saying we need the 32nd pick?
No, I'm saying that we got to fill the cupboards up if you want to eventually draft a quarterback, and we got to ultimately draft right regardless of where we draft. The guy for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers was drafted after we drafted Becton. You know, like it's just that's been our situation with our drafting luck. So most of the tankers don't tend to win. I don't know if you noticed that. Like the consistent tankers, like the Cleveland Browns for years, got the first overall pick or the second, and they sucked. You know, like it's same thing. But the Ravens and the Steelers, they tend to be pretty good. Like now, finally, Cleveland's doing better after years of sucking. But like, it just look where
It
what
also
all
took 20 allegations to get Deshaun Watson booted out of,
and he was
like,
Joe
Houston.
Flacco has doubled his numbers in the same amount of games. Think about that.
No, I agree, but Myles Garrett's looking pretty damn good for that tank.
True,
And, like,
but again, but JJ Watt's also amazing. He was drafted way late.
Sure.
The same year. So like that's what the point is. And the Steelers didn't have to sacrifice that. Like again, I agree. If we only won 1 or 2 games, or we even lost the Commanders game, then it would have made sense to tank this game. But we were already way too deep in here. So I'd rather just take the win and let the dice, like, you know, the whole Giants versus the Commanders thing a few years ago. That's where it comes down to, man. Like, don't be sad that we won this game. These players that we have as a young core, they're happy. So like I mean, it still kind of makes me laugh that your Commanders victory, you were just going all crazy out there. Like, it's just back.
I'm glad we won just so that didn't, because if the Jets wound up losing this game, I'd feel even worse about the Commanders game.
Exactly,
Because we would have
you
the
know?
2-pick. The Commanders game was the critical game. This one mattered less because we won that
CJ
game.
Stroud's better than Trevor Lawrence. Like, you can't predict these things. It's just
No, but again, if you had Trevor Lawrence, you probably have Elijah Moore. You probably have Mike LaFleur.
Yeah.
You have $75 million more in
Yeah,
cap.
I know.
You have
We
2
would've been
additional
better, and I was
second-round
all
picks.
down for
Like there's a
tanking.
snowball.
Trust me.
You probably have Orlando
Yeah.
Brown. Like
I was all
there's a
down
lot.
for tanking. But like, you know, like the Trey Lance thing, like where did that work out for the 49ers? Like it's just so hard, man. It's too hard, and we can't constantly like do this stuff. Like it's time that we stop, unless we're really bad, we gotta stop the tanking talk. Like it's time that things change. I know I'm in the minority, but like you know,
So you might be surprised. I'm actually not. I honestly I didn't care about this game more than anything. But the win was cool, and Belichick being upset about it made it feel better. I'm not gonna lie, like I'm okay with that.
He was screaming.
Oh, it's great. Like that. Like that's the part that warms my soul, because like, look, there's nothing. I think the player you would have gotten at, you know, let's say we got as high as we could have.
We moved down, 6. I think 1 spot maybe. You know, like it's just
we're at 9 right now,
and we were at 8 previously, right?
Well,
so, like,
yeah, but a loss would have put us at 7.
But like it's again, you know, Ike Kwanu and the other guy, the Giants guy, Matt's boy, you know, like his
Neil.
favorite guy. Yeah, you know, I mean, I'm still waiting for that safety to be the next Ed Reed that Green Bean talked to us about. Like I'm still waiting.
He is
for
good.
Like,
he's like
okay.
him.
He's a strong safety. He hasn't done much.
I would say
been
this. I'm not upset at all that the Jets won. And I agree with you. I think Breece Hall going off the way he did makes it feel a lot better. And I'll be honest, I did not want to see Breece Hall or Garrett Wilson play like at all today. I was just praying that we would get out of there without an injury, and Garrett getting the concussion at the end is definitely not.
And seeing Quinnen get his 2 sacks, I mean, we got to keep Bryce up. We got to stop putting on the ether that he might be traded or let go. Like, no, sign this guy. We have the perfect time to sign him. We're going to get money off the books and readjust contracts. Good teams keep these players, man. We're trying to make a run with Aaron Rodgers. Why would we get rid of him?
Dude, I'm with you 100%, but I mean, unless we're going to franchise tag him, there's no way Bryce Huff
sign a
wants to be
long-term
here.
deal. Sign him to a 3-4 year deal. Give him the
But why would
other
Bryce
contract.
Huff do it though? Last
Why
year
not?
we told him,
If we
no,
paid him
we're
good
not going
money.
to re-sign you. We're going to give you the 2nd-round tender because we want someone to steal you from
Yeah,
us.
but
because
he had
you're
a
not
better
worth the
year
first-round
this year
tender.
than last year. You know, like so, like it's time to give it. If you give him his money, he'll sign. That's the
I
case with any
honestly
player.
don't know if that's the right move. I think franchise tag and just find a way to make $19.4 million work next year is a better move than signing him long-term. Because I think if you're forced to sign him long-term now, since he has you over a barrel, you might sign a contract you might regret. At least with the franchise tag, you're going all in for a year,
What was
and
the
then you
pass
lose
rusher
him.
that hasn't played for us this year, even though we had him? Just give him his
Carl
contract.
Lawson.
Yeah, give him his money, like the same type of money, same deal.
Yeah, he was what, $15 million a year?
Yeah,
I mean,
like,
honestly, that's where I would. If you could give him 3 years, $15 million a year, I think that's not a bad
totally
deal.
worthwhile. And I don't know, he would like say no to that. Like, you know, like it's just
I think he's going to get I think he's going to get at least that on the open market. Like I think he's going to try and force the Jets into a franchise tag. I think that's what's going to happen. That's what I would do if I was him.
I mean, so give him that, but he also has to know that football's a very dangerous sport. Like, if he gets a franchise thing, God forbid he gets injured, that could totally tank him too.
It doesn't matter.
So,
$19.4 million. That's life-changing money. He can get hurt as soon as the ink dries, and he's got it. in the bank.
Yeah, but like still, like I mean, 15 million for 3 years. That's where I would start. Maybe push it to 17 million. But I don't think he would. I don't think he's a disgruntled player. I just think that the Jets were just playing coy. I've seen many teams do it over the years and still sign their players. Like I'm tired of trading our guys like Keyshawn and Santana Moss and these guys like over the years. And
Sure.
what was the pass rusher that we traded to the Falcons for like
John
a first
Abraham.
round? Exactly. Like I don't want to do that no more. I want to keep our guys.
I want to keep our guys too, but I feel like Joe Douglas has sent a very clear message to Bryce Huff that you're not worth the money that we were trying to.
But that was last year. Things change. Today's deal is different.
But like he didn't try in season to sign him, or at least it didn't seem like it. We heard the one comment that was like, "Oh, there's some talks," and then like Bryce comes out with that comment yesterday, or whatever.
What was the comment?
It was like he's looking to be utilized more frequently. He wants to find a new scheme or find a scheme that will utilize him. It very much felt like he had no plans to come back here. So I think we're in a tag and trade.
I think he's trying to put the pressure on him, but like I rather honestly.
Well, he wants the tag for sure. He definitely wants the franchise tag. He won't make that much money.
We have a limited window with Aaron Rodgers. We got to like get this guy, man. Like he's our leading our sack total guy on the team. Like we yearned for years. All we had was Muhammad Wilkerson with his like lazy ass. Like that's what we had for so long. I can't not just sign him. Force. I mean, listen. No matter how disgruntled he is, you give him enough money, he's gonna like suck it up.
But then you start making bad contracts, things like
that.
Well, no,
don't make it bad.
But you ejected from the contract.
You're out of here.
Christian, I'll get to you in just 1 second. I want to answer a few super chats that just popped up. Crossfire comes in, says, I'm torn. I wanted the loss to get a better draft pick. One draft pick matters. Look at last year. We missed Jones by 1 pick, but happy the streak is over. So I'll be honest, this game was not a game that I was like super beat up about. I thought that the critical win-loss happened against the Commanders. This one, I like this win significantly more than the Commanders win. Like if you could flip-flop and you would say, oh, the Jets barely won against the Commanders, and that was like the second win or whatever, or not, I don't want to say second win, the sixth win, seventh win, whatever we're at. The Patriot win, the way Breece went off, the way we held them to like virtually no yards, like the Jets dominated this game from like the jump, and that would have made me feel better. Like if we didn't have the second half of the Commanders game, I wouldn't have had that meltdown like I did. And as far as draft pick goes, it's like 1 pick matters, but selecting the right player matters a lot more. And once we lost out on I think we lost out on the top 2. I'd be a little surprised if one of the other tackles fell down to us. If Fashanu or Alt falls to 9, or if he falls to like 7 and this win cost us the tackle, then maybe I'll be a little jaded. But overall, I'm not too bad. Let's see. Oreo says, not many top quarterbacks pan out. Not worried about the Pats drafting a quarterback. JJ, Wirfs, Lamar, Watt, AVT, Ayuk, etc. all drafted outside the top 10. Trust Joe Douglas. Yes, the thought process is purely like you have less players to select from when you're further back. So if the Patriots were sitting at 5, then they don't have the options of the other quarterbacks. But I agree. I understand what you're saying. There's good players throughout the entire league. Heck, statistically speaking, most of the league is not made up of first overall or first round draft picks. John comes in with Super Chat, says, call me unpragmatic, but watching Breece Hall put the game away and seeing Bob Kraft leave early made me cheese ear to ear. Yeah, the Rob Kraft kind of like leaving his booth a little early and then Belichick being upset and Breece kind of putting it on ice, that did feel good. It definitely did. I'll take that over whatever the loss would have wound up netting us. Me being beat up over a loss was the Commanders game. This one, not so much. Not as much on the line here. Harry W. says, wow, Saleh did not let Hall go for the 4 yards to get 1K. Their math. They said their mathematician screwed up and they were like going for it and like, oh, we would have knelt it if we knew it was 10 yards. We thought it was this. They knew exactly where it was at. They wanted to get the little bit of a run there. And they're saying that as like, we could have knelt it afterwards. I think it's a little bit more of gamesmanship, but it definitely, the math wasn't quite mathing there at the end. All right, let's head back to the phone lines. Let's go over to Christian. Christian, brother.
It's over.
Thank
The
God.
season
That was terrible.
is over. This is one I will surely like to forget very soon, and for a while afterwards.
How'd you feel about today's win, though? I mean, you got Breece Hall scoring a touchdown on a long run, a little 178 yards on the ground. Pretty impressive.
Yeah, that was cool to see, and I'm glad that the Patriots no longer have to say that they haven't been beaten against the Jets in this decade. But at the same time, it's not like it was like an eye-popping win to, like brag about or anything.
Yeah, I think it makes it a little more sour because Patriot fans wanted the loss anyway. So there's like, you steal that from Jet fans. Like that satisfaction that we could have had to know their fan base is pissed. Like that's what I wanted this final game to be. Heck, I wanted this to be for the division at the end of the season. I wound up not even coming close to that. It's for a top pick.
Yeah, plans change.
Yeah, I would say so. What do you think the Jets do from here? Like, what's the next move? What do you think about Bryce Huff? Zach's last game in New York, most likely. Well, not this game, but
well, knowing them, they probably will not make that many drastic changes. And if it was up to me, I would say trade Huff so we can get more draft picks because, if we really think about it, we have so many good guys on defense and we cannot afford to keep everyone. There's going to be sacrifices in there. And plus, I'm willing to downgrade our defense a little bit if that meant a chance of upgrading our offense, which is putrid.
I completely agree. That's spot on the analysis as well. The only thing that you run into with the idea of trading Huff is, I think, unless they use the transition tag, which I think is like $16 or $17 million, the franchise tag is going to be 19.4. And Huff is going to sign that immediately, I would imagine. And then he's guaranteed that money. But what has to happen is you have to move other money if you're the New York Jets to future year because that money is going to be tied up in your salary cap until you trade Bryce Huff. So if Bryce Huff is going to be traded on draft day or something like that or further down the line, you have to figure out how to move that money around because if you want to go after a T. Higgins or a Mike Evans or something like that, you may not have the money initially for the now. For this year. It's a weird situation. Although cap hits are generally smaller in the first year of a contract. But I would agree. I would say I would trade Bryce Huff, get the draft pick if it means upgrading the offense overall.
Yeah, and we got to look towards the future instead of the now because if we do things that will benefit us now, but that will cost us in the future, then I would be pissed. But
I see what you're saying. I see what you're saying. Little mid talk action right there. I apologize about that, Christian. My finger slipped on the button and I ejected you a little prematurely. Premature ejaculation here on the Jets Talk Show. Julian says if the Jets would have tanked properly for TW, maybe. I think he's trying to say Trevor Lawrence. No, I don't know where the W is. Tanked. Maybe they could have made the playoffs last year, but it looks like they won't be super good. So yeah, the Trevor Lawrence thing sucks. That win altered our franchise so much. And it's not even so much that it's like Trevor Lawrence is the generational prospect because he really hasn't been yet. But what drafting Zach Wilson meant for this team in relation, you probably have Elijah Moore, you probably have $75 million more because you don't trade for Aaron Rodgers. You don't have Nathaniel Hackett because you probably have Mike LaFleur. You probably bring in Orlando Brown, I would think, instead of losing him to the Bengals because he went to the Bengals because the Jets didn't have a quarterback. Is Trevor Lawrence enough to attract him here? Maybe, maybe not. And then you'd have 2 more second-round picks. It's a crazy butterfly effect. I don't know. Oreo says, this win feels like the first time getting laid. Relief. I guess, yeah, like a little bit of relief. I don't know. I would like to think my first time was significantly better than the feeling I'm feeling right now. But man, I was going to crack a joke about disappointment, despair, and a little bit of crying. That's what it sounds like the Jet fans are doing. All right, let's go over to Edward. Edward, are you ready? I know you're driving, so be very careful. Do not do anything stupid while I have you on the phone here. Edward, welcome to the show.
Welcome. Look at beautiful downtown Raleigh, North Carolina. It's about the size of Hempstead, New York. Yeah, it's like the size of Hempstead, Long Island. It's tiny.
If you tilt your phone a little bit, I might be able to pick your nose from here. I'm kidding. You're driving. Don't do that.
It is what I'm doing. I'm driving my Cadillac. Woohoo!
Oh, there you go, Caddy. What did you think of the game? How was your Southern Jet North Carolina club brawl thing?
Central North Carolina New York Jets fan club.
That's what I was trying to say. Lots of words in there.
Yeah, we had a good time. We were laughing it up. We were talking about, should we tank? And one guy said, "Here, you take the ball. No, you take the ball. No, you take the ball. No, you take the ball." Especially at the end when with that interception with Ashton Davis and the whole bit. He's like, "No, you take it. No, you take it."
It was so good.
I love that.
Sauce's,
I love Breece. I love Breece's game. Breece had a great game.
Just fun to watch.
175 yards and a touchdown.
And a touchdown plus 12 receiving. Yeah.
Yeah, he's a monster. And this is coming off of a ACL, man. I mean, come on.
He should be comeback player of the year.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, if Hamlin played more, he would have won it. But
yeah,
you know, they had
literally
him.
just on the roster to get this award for the year. I'm so sure that's what's going to happen.
Well, I'm sorry. I mean, yeah, he died and they brought him back and all that because he had like that thing where if you get punched in the heart when it's at that exact moment of the heartbeat that it can kill you. But he didn't play. I mean, he made it back. I got to give him credit for that. That wasn't not an easy decision. And I think that the reason they had him sit so long is I'm not sure the Bills wanted to put him out there again. I think they were still a little worried about him. But
I just think he's not a good player, honestly. I think he's literally. I think he was only on the roster to get this award because it would if they cut him immediately after that, it would look really bad. And then two, it just doesn't I think there's better players that you could have had if you're the Bills. I think you probably just kept him around to for optics purposes.
Yeah, maybe. So my thing with Huff, I want to see if they can keep him at least for one more year.
Yeah,
I like Huff. I would rather, and I was telling one of the guys at the club this, I'd rather they see if they could trade Will McDonald now that they've proven that he's a really good player in the making.
So I like the idea of that because you'd want to keep your better player in Huff, but the cap hit you would incur if you traded Will McDonald because of his signing bonus as being a first-year pick, like a first-round talent this year, would be brutal. So from a financial standpoint, it's just it's not. So
good. What is our cap hit right now? Right now, what is our cap hit?
So we're
really good at this stuff.
Yeah. So as far as hold on. Sorry, I'm just pulling up over the cap. The Jets are rolling into next season with $21 million in salary cap space. And if you were to cut a Will McDonald, it would take off $9.6 million from that. So it wouldn't save you any cap space by doing that trade, but it might be more valuable of a return that you would get if you could retain Bryce Huff and trade Will McDonald, because the team receiving Will McDonald would have such a cheap contract, they would have to give up a higher pick. But I don't know if he's earned a high pick in return. I think Huff is the more valuable.
Oh yeah, I mean I wouldn't trade Huff unless I got a first rounder. I mean he's got the best pressure percentage in the league.
Yeah, I think unfortunately we'll get him. I think we're gonna tag him, and I think he winds up getting a mid to late second round pick, probably realistically.
So you think we're gonna do the smaller tag, not the first round tag?
So you can't do a first round tag. The first and second round tags are only for restricted free agents. Once you talk about an unrestricted free agent, it's either the transition tag, which is slightly lower at, I think it's $16 or $17 million, or the franchise tag, which is 19.4. And the transition
That's
tag.
That's what I meant. I think they're going to do the transition tag on them.
I would like that.
And that's
to do
guaranteed
that,
money too. I'd take it.
It's less guaranteed money, and you get the ability to match.
Still
So I think
$16
that,
million,
from a visual
man.
standpoint,
It's
if you
still
don't match it, though, you
$16
lose it for
million.
nothing.
That's lottery money.
Sure. Yeah, but if you don't want to take the contract that he's offered, you just lose him for nothing. So there is no comp pick, which maybe Douglas doesn't care about because he's not going to be here anyway. So it's not like you get a pick back with the transition tag, where the franchise tag, if someone signed him away, they would have to give you a pick. It's weird.
So what
You can
coaches
still
do you
trade
think
him
are
on
going
the
to get
tag.
fired?
What?
So what coaches? I know Saleh safe and that, but what coaches you think are going to get fired? I think they get rid of Carter.
I would get rid of Carter. I would get rid of Dowling. I would get rid of Calabrese. Those would be the three I'd move on from.
Because when I got bounced before, I was telling you that Carter is bad because he works the guys out, and every time on Friday, guys that were healthy on Thursday, they were ruled out. I'm talking O linemen. All these O linemen would get ruled out on Friday because they'd all get hurt on Friday practice.
No, yeah.
I mean, all the time, constantly.
Our team has a terrible issue with injuries. Edward, thank you so much for the call. You've been ejected from the cockpit. Get home safe, brother. Brian Bogan comes in with super chat. Thank you, Brian. Brian says, new low for penalties, but I think that was more due to the refs wanting to go home. Yeah, I will say that I liked watching the game today because it wasn't stopped so frequently due to penalties. So that was like, that felt very much like, hey, let's get out of this game. Let's get the players home. Let's get out of, like, ourselves out of the game. Let's get the fans home. Let's let the players play. It's going to be a sloppy mess. Like, there were times where I was like, that probably could have been a penalty. But I don't know. I like the no penalties. Oreo comes in and says, big fear is trading Huff and Will McDonald doesn't pan out. Yes, it is. Now, I don't think the Jets season is going to be hinged next year on whether Will McDonald works out or doesn't. So from Joe Douglas's perspective, he's probably feeling like, well, I better get an asset now for Huff that I can use to help this team next year if I can't retain him for next year. Because I think the $19.4 million on the franchise tag, it's going to be really tough to swallow. I don't think the Jets actually play him on that. And then you run the risk of like, okay, do you have to accept like a 4th round pick? I don't know. I don't want to see I would hope we would still get a high pick for him. I would think a contending team would at least give us a 2nd round pick. We'll see. See where it all goes. Will McDonald working out? I mean, you drafted him so it could work out. So it's, I don't know. It's a lot going on. It's frustrating all the way around. Crossfire says Hall should definitely be comeback player of the year, and he's sorry, but he's tired of hearing about DeMar Hamlin. I completely agree. I've been having this argument with my friends for a while now, and it became a little less. Well, first off, I said Aaron Rodgers should get it if he winds up playing again. Now, Jets season went in the crapper. He didn't actually come back and play on the field, so it doesn't make any sort of sense. But Breece Hall actually earned comeback player of the year. I think Tua earned comeback player of the year. I think Brock Purdy earned comeback player of the year. To me, DeMar Hamlin did not earn it. Did not earn it. All right. What else you guys talk about in here? Astral says, as Huff, shouldn't he deserve every last penny he can get? Yeah, I agree. I think he does deserve as much as he can get. Joe S. says, Joe Douglas drafting and free agent signings have been terrible. Yeah. I mean, his first 2, Becton and Wilson not panning out, has been brutal. And his 3rd in AVT, while we all like him, is going to cost us a shit ton of money on his 5th-year option comparatively to maybe other positions that you could bring in. Yeah, man, it's been. I was such a defender of Joe Douglas for so long, and this year, especially with Becton looking as bad as he's looked, has really made me question Joe Douglas. The free agency pickups I can kind of get past because of the undrafted guys like a Huff, like picking Quincy up off waivers, getting Justin Jefferson. Like there's been value of things that Joe Douglas has done, but from an evaluation standpoint, there's definitely a lot to be concerned with. Patrick comes in and says, what a piss poor ending to a season. Saleh needs to go and hack it. Man, that would be a ballsy move if Woody Johnson did it. I'm not necessarily in disagreement. I do think that Saleh and Douglas are better than their records would indicate, which is goofy and it's anti-Parcellian in that way where, your record, you are what your record says you are. But I feel like those guys would have had more success with not like Zach Wilson at quarterback. But then I see decisions that Saleh makes and it's like brutal. It's like really not great. I don't know. Players want to play for Saleh, which is why I give him more benefit of the doubt, I think, than I should. Just got to win. Got to win some games. Stud City says Tanny drafted Kyle Wilson. He did. That was not a good pick either. Joe S says Tanny went to 2 AFC Championship games, and Joe Douglas has 24 wins, but he's the best GM in Jets history. I will say that I thought for a long time, and it's probably debatable because we've just had bad GMs, but I think Joe Douglas might be the best GM in Jets history, at least like my recent Jets history. Tannenbaum had a lot of success, but he mortgaged away a lot of the future to do it. Joe Douglas, to this point, has not done that. Like, it felt like every year with Tanny, we'd have 2 or 3 draft picks every year. Like, I remember going into one draft, I think it was the Keller year. I think we made 3 selections. So it's different. It's like you overpay for proven talent, but you lack depth. Here, the Jets should, in theory, have more depth across the board because we're not paying the top tier price for the top tier talent right now. It's a little different. Oreo says, hear me out. Draft the best right tackle. Move AVT to left tackle. He was our best when he was in. It's easy to find a guard, then a tackle. Thoughts, Ryan? So I am leaning more towards the AVT to tackle mindset. Here's how I would address it, though. I would try to get David Bakhtiari at left tackle. I think from a cost analysis, if he's willing to sign an incentive-laden deal to protect Aaron Rodgers' blindside again, I would bring him in at left tackle. I would have AVT be the emergency left tackle. Because if your plan is to move him to tackle anyway, then that shouldn't really be seen as a super negative in that capacity. Now, on the right-hand side, I would love to go after Jonah Williams. Maybe you decide AVT is your right tackle or something like that. I think there's a really good shot the Jets are going to go with an offensive weapon early in this draft. I think it's either going to be a wide receiver or Brock Bowers. Bowers is an interesting one because he provides you the weapon, but also some protection in terms of offensive line, in-line blocking kind of a situation. I do think AVT from a financial standpoint is going to have to move out to tackle because his 5th-year option in 2025 that we have to exercise this year in the offseason is going to be the price of a top offensive tackle. So if that's the case, then you save yourself some cap flexibility by moving him to tackle instead of keeping a high-priced guard at guard. So I would agree with you there. Patrick says, exactly. Hamlin died and came back on the field. What excuses do these fat money grabbers on the Jets O-line have? Yeah, look, Damar Hamlin died on the field. That's his like, I don't think he should get comeback player of the year. Good job. Your prize is life. I don't think you are a good player to have earned it, though, unfortunately. All right, we got Lima Bean calling back in. I'm curious to see what Lima Bean has to say. Lima Bean, what are you doing over there?
No, I was watching the post game on SNY, and Connor Rogers was slamming his hand on the table saying that you can't get rid of Bryce Huff. Like, we waited 16 years since John Abraham to get a bendy pass rusher. It's like, it would be incompetence to do so because, and he cited the examples of like Jets constantly letting their star guys go. And then, we had a history of signing shitty free agents to bad contracts. We should give it to our own guy. Like, he came as an undrafted free agent. We developed him, and he became this guy. I'm not saying that he's Myles Garrett, but in a championship game, you want this guy coming off the edge and like getting that like strip sack. Like I would tell Aaron Rodgers, like, hey man, I give a little bit more money. We need do what Robert Kraft did with Brady. Like, he pays him on the side in some other weird ways. Like, we'll give you every endorsement known to man to make up that cash, but give this money to Bryce Huff. Like, you'll want him to win that championship. Like,
the nice thing is, like, if you do franchise tag him, like, he can't leave first and foremost. But secondly, his like, as far as like attracting free agents, I don't know. We're gonna have to overpay. I'd rather overpay one of our own for a year that we could get out of if he turns into a bumpkin or something like that, or we re-sign him to a longer term deal after that. But I agree. Tremaine Johnson, to some degree, the initial contract to CJ Mosley, Le'Veon Bell, like how many bad free agents have we brought in and overpaid? Like overpay a guy that's productive here.
Exactly. Yet somehow the Bills managed to pay everyone, including Von Miller, who's not even playing for them anymore. Like it just doesn't make sense. They let go of, like we could find money. Like JFM could we could cut him. We could cut like the fat off the team that doesn't play. It just there has to be a way to keep the good players. Otherwise, then we're not having a full championship caliber run. At least not on defense. I'm not saying we have to give them the stars in the earth and everything like that, but there has to be a way we can have a reasonable contract for him where he stays on this team. The loss in money could be his, and it would make sense, and we could have a 3-man rotational pass rush, because knowing the Jets' luck, we could either trade him or let him go, and then JJ could get hurt, and then we're like, man, I wish we had a pass rusher.
I fully expect that. Not that JJ would get hurt, but I fully expect Will McDonald to struggle next year, and then us being like, whoa, we should have kept Bryce off. That'll be the whole conversation.
From the analysis I see from a lot of the the Jets players and this and that, just about Will McDonald, he's great coming off the edge with his height and stuff. He just has to set the edge better for the run game. That's his deficiency, which he doesn't play that often. But I mean, he's doing what JJ did last year. He's having limited snaps, and then he's going to grow. And I don't mind that approach, because all the good teams have a little pipeline system. So it's, if he comes out next year balling, then great. And then hypothetically, if Will McDonald proves it, then maybe we can trade Bryce Huff the following year if we really don't think we need him. But honestly, for now, keep him. Like I said, Connor Rogers was slamming his hand on that table on the post-game show. I was like, we can't do this again.
We're gonna do it again. That's what's gonna happen. We're gonna jet it up. Something's gonna happen. Lava Beat. Thank you so much for the call. Been ejected from the cockpit. Dude, I agree. I agree with Connor Rogers. I agree with Lima being there. You can't lose Bryce Huff. Or at least you can't lose him for nothing. And for me, I think Bryce Huff on this team with Aaron Rodgers when you're going for a Super Bowl is more valuable. And I would rather get the comp pick in 2026 after letting him walk after next year than letting him walk this year and not getting a comp pick, because I do want to go after T. Higgins. I do want to go after a Mike Evans, something like that. If you can get a second-round pick, it would be great. That second round pick, I'd do it, because the cap relief that you'd get from not having him on the franchise tag is enormous. Man, it's a frustrating situation. Frustrating situation with him. You guys are arguing over Mangini and Tannenbaum in the comment section, saying Mangini definitely got a raw deal. I think it was one of those situations where it was just sort of time to move on from him. Man, we had so much juice going into that year with Rex. Could you imagine if the Jets didn't have Vernon Gholston as their draft pick and instead lost the final game of the season to the Chiefs, who wound up picking in front of us? That win cost us Matt Ryan back in the day. And Genie would have been a coach a little bit longer, I think. At least for us. Wound up going to the Browns. Oreo says, is Huff a necessity or a luxury at this point? I think Huff is a luxury. I definitely think he's a luxury. I think I shouldn't say that. I don't think it's a luxury yet. I think we're hoping it will be, because we drafted Will McDonald. With Bryce Huff, it would be that's an interesting question. That's a very interesting question. I would say he is a necessity until we develop Will McDonald. And unfortunately, we haven't seen that, because Will McDonald, for whatever reason, just did not play a lot of snaps this year. You'd think in a lost season, you try to groom him as best you can to decide if you have to do anything with Bryce Huff. Now, I guess you probably just played Bryce Huff enough where you hope that the sacks that he saw in this game make him more tradable in the offseason. I don't know. I have a really hard time thinking the Jets are actually going to bring Huff back. Ray and Nephew says T. Higgins would be perfect for the Jets. I agree. I want T. Higgins or Mike Evans. Either one of those guys I'd be very, very happy with. I would say Evans, from a contract perspective, time-wise, is a little more appealing because it probably ends with Rodgers. where T. Higgins would be the player that the Packers passed on to get Jordan Love. So there's some symbolic like symmetry there. I mean, heck, why don't you go out, sign T. Higgins, and then go out and draft Brock Bowers? Talk about a flip of script, especially if you don't think you're going to get one of the top offensive tackles. I would rather take the 3rd round tackle, I think, at that point. tackle 3 is going to be tough. J.C. Latham is a scary kind of player, if that's where the Jets end up going. Where did my analysis go on it? So I'm doing an analysis right now, and I'll have a video up of it eventually over the top 6 offensive tackles in this year's draft. J.C. Latham has 18 penalties in his career. That is a ton of penalties. For perspective, Joe Alt has 4. Olu Fashanu has 5. Amarius Mims has played half the snaps, or almost a third of the snaps, half the snaps, as Latham has 1. And then you go to the Duke left tackle, Barton. He's got 21. Fuaga has 12. Yeah, not great. Strength of schedule wise for J.C. Latham, he faced the 6th hardest strength of schedule in college. So from that perspective, he played the best talent across the board. Joe Alt had the 63rd hardest schedule. Olu Fashanu, 58. And then Amarius Mims had 45. Barton had 50. Fuaga was the 83rd. Lots of stuff we'll be able to go into. I'm fascinated with the draft stuff, and I'll be honest, I feel like I'm a little bit more in my element with the NFL draft than where we were all season this year. Disinfo says, edge with 10 sacks who provides constant pressure is always a necessity. It's true. I think we may have made him a luxury by drafting Will McDonald, though. That's the frustrating part. Ryan S. says, last year was a lost season too, and we did the same thing with JJ. I think JJ played, didn't JJ play like 20% of the snaps last year? I think Will McDonald played single digits. I'll have to look at it up. I'm not too sure. I like what they did with JJ, and honestly, that's how I would like all our draft picks to be. Draft someone, let them sit behind another player, and develop. Ideally, that's where you go. We just haven't had the players necessary to allow that. Aaron says, I want Michael Pittman Jr. I'd be on board with that. I would definitely take him in a heartbeat. He'll be a lot cheaper than a lot of the other options. And then if you still want to go receiver in the draft, you're probably a little more, from a financial allocation, maybe a little less under the gun. Joe S. says, Jets have bigger needs than paying for another edge rusher when you drafted Will McDonald. Yeah, it's the timing of it all. The time to re-sign Bryce Huff was last year when you did Quincy Williams, before you drafted Will McDonald. Crossfire says, I can almost guarantee we have a top 5 hardest strength of schedule next year. Always seems like we have one of the hardest. Yeah, it's because the bad teams are turning it around and the Jets aren't. That's part of what it is. Like when you have teams like, Houston or Jacksonville or the Bears, whatever it is, whatever team you would play due to whatever position you finished in your division, those teams are consistently getting better and the Jets are not getting better. We're not facing the worst team in those divisions anymore. That's what it feels like. Next year, I gotta look. Are we in Green Bay next year? Is that where it all finished? I'd have to look and see where Green Bay is. I know Green Bay and Minnesota were close last I looked. JD Grant. Sucks for the season, but that could have been for a season that could have been. But I'm gonna smile about beating the Patriots finally. Breece is a dog. Yeah, Breece is legit. And I'm happy. Happy to get that Patriots monkey off our back. Seems like we always play top playoff team and Super Bowl teams. Always. What else are we talking about in here? Joe says our quarterback is playing our offensive coordinator. He is. Kevin says Lawson and Lazard, worst signing you can ask for. So Lazard, yes. Lawson, in hindsight, yes. Lazard was a bad signing because he's not a good player. Lawson, I think, is a good player who got hurt. Unfortunately, we never really got to see what Lawson could have been because he popped that Achilles, and I think that altered his career pretty significantly after that. Contract-wise, yeah, it bit us in the butt pretty hard. I would say the Tremaine Johnson contract was superiorly worse than either one of these signings, but not good. Joe S. says, Stud City, unfortunately, Saleh is not going anywhere. Yeah, no. We've made our bed once we decided to go with Aaron Rodgers, and I think we're going to sleep in it. I'm not fully against Robert Saleh, honestly. I don't like the job he's done so far. He's got to turn around, though. Got to turn it around. Disinfo says, it's all going to come down to offensive line once again. So how are we going to address it? How do you address this offensive line? Is a fascinating question. Where AVT shakes out in all this, if he's one of your tackles, which one do you go after? Do you go after a Jonah Williams and you get him, he's your right tackle, AVT's your left tackle. If Jonah Williams resigns and you think you can get back to Ari, AVT's your right tackle. Maybe you draft a top left tackle in this year's draft. AVT winds up being your right tackle. Keep your left tackle. It's going to be fascinating to see what happens here. Does Tomlinson come back? I don't think he's earned it. Do the Jets try to swap in Runyon from Green Bay at left guard? I could see that. Genius says, Ryan, how will you fix the Jets? I'm excited. I'll do my mock offseason, and I'll show you guys where my thought process is. I could do a few different mock off seasons if that's something you guys want, and if the videos do well from like a view perspective. I can make a bunch of them. It just takes a lot of time to do it and a lot of calculations to figure out the math side of things. So when they don't do well, it's like it sucks. But how would I fix the Jets? I've got a few ideas. It's just a matter. It sucks because it's not things that we can control. It's you need players to decide to play here in free agency because the turf sucks. Already voted worst field to play on by NFL players. Our taxes are high. And a lot of these players, I'm speaking very broadly here, a lot of these players come from the South. So you're going to have a lot of players that may feel like they want to play closer to home than up north. The North just doesn't have a lot of like elite schools. Like from the New York area, you're talking Rutgers, Syracuse, Boston College. Maybe you loop Penn State into that sort of equation for the Northeast as well. I don't know. It's funky. It's funky. Jets are going to have to answer a lot of questions, and a lot of it doesn't rely on like what the Jets can actually do. It relies on players because we only have the one pick. You got to bank on the first round pick being the only pick that's probably going to impact next year's season right now. I don't know. Oreo says, also, Happy New Year's, Ryan, to you and your family and to my Jet brothers. Won't see me for a while with school starting, but I'll be watching. Much love. Oreo, thank you so much for the kind words and always tuning in. And even if you just watch it after the fact, that's totally fine too. It's what the beautiful thing about YouTube is. You can always come back, revisit, drop a comment. I'll try to respond to it. But Happy New Year's to you as well, dude. And everyone out in the chat. Crossfire saying Becton is definitely gone. Yeah, I saw something that like Becton wants to return to the New York Jets and wants to block for Aaron Rodgers. And like, yeah, I'm sure you do. I don't really want you to. Like, you lead the league in sacks and penalties. I'm sure we can get that from a cheaper option elsewhere. I would not roll with Becton at all. I think I'll take the field versus anything Becton would have given us next year. Crossfire. How quickly do you think Becton gets traded and for what, or gets cut? Either way, he isn't on the Jets next year. So he's a free agent. So the Jets can't trade him. And we're not going to franchise tag him or transition tag him, so that won't matter. He'll just walk. He'll just leave. I think the Jets won't have to cut him. They're going to let his contract expire. He can test the open market. Maybe if the Jets strike out on a few different options in free agency, maybe they say, hey, Becton, if you're interested in coming back, this is the offer we have for you. It's 1 year, $4 million, $5 million, maybe. I don't know. I'm not sure I want Becton at all. I think his penalties are too costly all the time. And I don't think he's good at blocking right now. Maybe it's his knee that has slowed him down. Maybe it was whatever ankle issue he had at some point during the season slowed him down. But like, he really doesn't look good. And I don't think there's a situation where I really feel comfortable relying on him. Like, if we bring him back, it's not to start in my mind. It's, you want vet minimum with the potential to be paid well if you actually start and are on the field. You can't do that with everyone, but maybe he doesn't feel like moving just yet and wants to do a prove it 1 year deal here as opposed to a prove it 1 year deal somewhere else. I don't know. Eddie says, Bacon. Bacon. I had a shirt. I didn't sell any, but because it was more of a make fun of shirt than anything else. It was BEC, so a breakfast sandwich, a bacon, egg, and cheese with a 2-ton weight next to it. Beck-ton. Or I guess a 1-ton weight, right? Not great. Anijah. Hope I pronounced that right. Is T. Higgins an option for the offseason? He is right now. I think he's going to get franchise tagged and traded, and I don't think the Jets should be in on that type of situation. I wouldn't trade for T. Higgins and give him the contract because I don't think we're in that type of position. So I would go after the next person down, if that's Mike Evans or if it's Michael Pittman or maybe Keelan Allen gets traded or cut, rather. He's got a big cap hit. I'll go after him too. Kevin says, even Rodgers can't save Becton. I agree. Patrick says, any chance for Mike Owenwu, Jonah Williams, Jonah Jackson, Lloyd Cushenberry, Kevin Zeitler, Trent Brown? Zeitler, I know we actually had the opportunity to sign him when he was leaving the Giants, and I was really irritated as to why we did not, and he wound up signing in Baltimore. Maybe he'd come back up this way. That'd be kind of cool. I'll be honest, I haven't kept up with him since he left the Giants. Jonah Williams seems to be the best offensive lineman that could hit the market. Jonah Jackson, I don't know who that is. I'm going to have to do more research on him. And I haven't kept up on Cushenberry either. Trent Brown is an interesting one. I usually like stealing someone from a division rival, and he can play left or right tackle, so it gives you a little flexibility. I guess it depends what he's going for. Ryan S. says, we have to keep in mind AVT is coming off of an Achilles injury. How sure are we that the same player is coming back? Not even just the same player, but like, does the position of left tackle in some capacity rely more on your Achilles or your ability to get further out to block a speed rusher? Like, is Becton's movement restricted due to some of his size and his knee issue? Does the would an Achilles injury somehow hamper your ability to slide left and right? I'm not a doctor, so I'm merely asking questions. But I think that's something you do have to be concerned with. I think at worst case scenario, you would imagine he's a guard, because then at least you're positioned between two players. You're not having to overextend one way or the other. I don't know. I think you have to rely on AVT due to how many offensive linemen you need, but I would certainly make sure I have a good backup as well. David says, when do you think Joe Douglas gets behind the mic? I think it's this week. Is it tomorrow? It might be tomorrow. Let's see. So they haven't posted it yet. I think it's usually, I'm pretty sure that's normally like right after the season ends. He'll get on before the season ends, or as the season is over now. He'll hop in. Jonah Jackson, 26-year-old guard from the Lions. Interesting. Jay Brown saying MetLife Turf just got AJ Brown. Oh man, is he all right? Or is it like a serious injury? I guess that's where I'll leave you guys. I'm going to hop off. I'm going to try and enjoy the rest of the snow day and enjoy the rest of, I don't know, I guess whatever the rest of my day entails. Gonna watch some Bills Dolphins later on. Pulling for the Bills. Overall, boys and girls, Jets capture a win. We secure ourselves a draft pick in some capacity. We are sitting at, let me just give the old refresh. I don't think anything's happened. Yeah, we're still sitting at number 9. So we'll see how the rest of the night shakes out, where we end up finishing up. And yeah, I don't know. You guys enjoy the rest of your days, enjoy watching football, and we'll start cranking on the offseason talk a month ago. All right, boys. This is Jets Talk signing off. JETS.
One, two, three.